How we doing, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So last month I was lucky enough to be able to actually film a wedding, a destination wedding over in Portugal, and it actually felt like a normal wedding because over here we've had like loads of restrictions in terms of we're not allowed to have the evening reception dancing. We just have the first dance and then it's cancelled. Only 15 people, but over in Portugal they have a maximum size of 60 guests, so the wedding day actually felt like a normal wedding, and it was pretty much the first one I've done in the whole year. So actually really grateful to be able to go and film over there, and definitely won't be taking those sort of weddings for granted ever again. But yeah, with that being said, anyway, this video is actually just like a little breakdown tutorial of one of the effects that I put into that video, which was walking through the Polaroids. So I don't know if you've seen the wedding video that I put up. If you haven't, don't worry about it. You can still learn the effect that you want to learn. If you want to check it out. But yeah, basically this video is going to be showing you how I did that sort of effect of walking through the Polaroids of action that had happened throughout the day, to give a few snapshots in terms of Polaroids of what they're about to see in the video. They're basically just screenshots. But yeah, anyway, enough of me talking. Get straight into the tutorial and I hope you enjoy. Okay, so to start off with, you'll have your shot that you want to place your Polaroid pictures into. And what we want to do is just go to animation at the top and track camera. Okay, so once you've got your tracking done, just come over to the left, click on advanced and just check your average error. If you're sort of around about 1 or under, then you should have no problems with tracking the scene. Basically here what I did was just find some points on this little boardwalk, I guess it's called, as best I could to try and give me the plane of the boardwalk. So just need to increase the tracker point size here. So I'm just going to choose these three points here. Just right click, create solid in camera, click off, and then just play through just to check that solid is staying in place. After that, we don't really need the track solid, so you can just turn off the visibility of that. And what we want to do next is just bring in your Polaroids. So I've got just basically screenshots from the video, the wedding video, so I can just bring this one in. What we want to do is just turn that into a 3D layer, and basically automatically that will just have it tracked into the scene, and it's as simple as that really. Obviously, next thing you want to do, if you want to make it look like a Polaroid, so what I did is just right click and pre-compose, leave all attributes in the comp, press OK. So then you can just go into that composition, find your Polaroid frame. I just got this one online as a PNG, but it's pretty easy. If you wanted to make it yourself, you could pretty much just go up to layer, new solid, just make it a white solid, and you could just sort of mask out the middle if you wanted to, like with a rectangle tool, just like that, and subtract. And you could pretty much sort of do the same thing just with using a mask, but I just quickly went online and got a PNG, right click on the PNG, transform, fit to comp, and also then transform and click this little link button here on the scale, and you can just scale it out so it fits the whole composition. And then yeah, basically when you go back into your actual main comp, you'll have it there as a Polaroid. Obviously Polaroids don't really look like that, so again you can go into the transform properties of the Polaroid, and again click off that little not sure what you call it, like a little link chain thing, and yeah, you can just squash it in like that to give it more of a sort of Polaroid look. Put them back out. So yeah, that's basically it in terms of bringing the Polaroids. It's that simple. Next, I guess, is if you wanted to add a few different ones. So just for the sake of this, I'm going to duplicate a couple, and basically what you want to use is these 3 arrows. If you use this blue arrow, the Z arrow, then you can just sort of move it back and forward into Z space. So, and then same with the red, you can just sort of move it to the side, and as you'll see when you go forward, that one's sort of in front and then the other one's behind there. You can go up and down using the green one. And another thing that I did, obviously because you don't want to make them all look the same, so just add sort of, come down here to the Polaroid, select it, go into transform, and you've got the XY, and you've got the XY rotation, and yeah, just come in here and just play around with the rotation a little bit so that, you know, it just looks a bit more scattered, rather than, you know, the Polaroids are like thrown up in the air or something like that, and give you that sort of effect rather than them all being in the same place. Let me just go and just do one more here. And just go into transform, rotate it sort of randomly, that one like that maybe, and yeah, basically that's pretty much it in terms of getting the Polaroids in. And then yeah, obviously you want to have all different, you know, sort of Polaroids, unless you want them all to be the same. It's up to you. I'm just doing it here just for demonstration purposes. And then if we go back into the actual main composition that I created, I'll just show you some of the other things that I did. So one thing is to make sure you turn on this little button here, click this one up here at the top, and then turn on motion blur for all the Polaroids, just to make sure that there's a bit of blur going into the scene, as there would be with a moving forward shot like this. The second thing, these sort of things are, you know, they're kind of optional, and yeah, so basically I bought in a couple of lights here. Just go up to layer, new light, and I had them set to ambient, so just to give a good ambience of light, and I had them set at around 50% for each light, and yeah, that basically just gave a nice ambience to the scene. So if you turn them off, obviously there's no light on the shadow on the Polaroids themselves. Turn them on, and yeah, you can see them nicely, and all the light is not like completely even on each picture, which is good. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The only other thing that I had was another light, and this had a plugin called Trapcode Shine on it, and that's a paid plugin, but it's actually really good for adding like these rays. As you can see there, you've got some of these nice sort of rays just spreading through the Polaroids themselves. Without it, it looks like that, and with it looks like that. So just had a little bit of a warm tint to them as well, and yeah, it's a bit of an unrealistic look because you might not get that, and the light's not necessarily coming from that way, it's coming more from that side. But I just wanted to have this kind of like backlight thing for like a little stylized look at the beginning of the video. Not necessarily the most realistic thing, but just think it looks cool. Makes it look a bit angelic, I don't know if that's the word, but yeah, that's pretty much what I had there. And I think the last thing that I want to talk about is just to do with like the realistic aspect of like depth of field, because you can go into the 3D camera that you created and try to emulate what it would be like if you were actually moving through these objects, these Polaroids. So you can basically turn on the depth of field, and I've got it really subtle here. Like might not even be able to tell, but basically if I turn it off, if you look at this one here and look at this one here, for example, and I turn it on, it's kind of a little bit blurred out. So yeah, it's really subtle, but basically anything that's in the foreground will be sort of in focus as it pushes through, and then all these will sort of reveal and be in focus. If I show you that now as it goes forward, you might even see some of the foreground Polaroids just sort of like drift slightly out of focus. I haven't got it on really high. I haven't got the focus distance, aperture and blur level really high because this was a wide shot and most of it was in focus. I didn't really want to have a really shallow depth of field, so I was trying to make it realistic as possible. And yeah, that's just another thing to think about. It's just basically about going into the camera options, turning on the depth of field and playing around with the focus distance, aperture and blur level to get it to the level that you like, the most realistic level. The only thing with this is though that the actual background layer here, the actual first clip that we had bought in of us moving forward on the boardwalk, as it's not a 3D layer, this 3D tracker camera options and depth of field, it won't actually affect this layer. So what I did was I actually just went in and added a camera lens blur effect from the effects and presets, just added that on and just put the blur radius up to about 5, and it's just blurred that background out, so that's without any blur in the background and it's all like nice and sharp, and that's just with a little bit of blur just to add a little bit of that depth of field effect. So I've had to do that actually manually, but yeah, that's another thing just to bear in mind, that if you were going to do this effect, the actual clip that you're working on, as it's not a 3D layer, the depth of field from the camera tracker won't affect that background layer, and you'll need to try and do that in your own way just by adding like a blur of some sort. I used the camera lens blur and it worked okay. Yeah, other than that, just you can add a bit of color correction to the Polaroid if you want to make them a bit more desaturated. That's what I did here with the hue saturation, and that I added again from the effects and presets, and I just went down and I just turned down the saturation a bit by about -35 on the Polaroids themselves, and that's pretty much the effect done, really. Wicked guys, so I hope you enjoyed that little tutorial that I put together, and as always, if you've got any questions, leave them down in the comments below, let me know. And all the other usual stuff, if you found it useful, give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this in the future. Just about to hit 3,000 on the channel, so that's really awesome. Really appreciate anyone who subscribed recently and subscribed ever, to be honest. It's still a great feeling, so thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Take care.